CBS 21 Political Insiders with Rob Hanrahan.
And Charlie Giroux has some business elsewhere, so my friend Kevin is here with us. Kevin Harley. I wanted to say Kevin Hart. He's my favorite comedian, and I knew that wasn't your name. And Mark Singler, our new Democratic strategist. Now that I've blown the top off the beginning of this, let's get down to business. Talk about Tom Marino. He introduces a bill, and it gets passed in 2016, and then he has to withdraw as drug czar because that bill weakened the DEA. Mark, as a Democrat, the president obviously would have vetted this person, wouldn't he, to be drug czar of the U.S.?
Yeah, notwithstanding that the bill was a terrible piece of legislation and probably should have been vetted a lot better. Remember this, that the president doesn't get off the hook here. Donald Trump is an egomaniac, and the only thing that's required to be considered for a top position is that you have to bow to the emperor, whether he has clothes on or not. So that's really what happened here. The easiest thing in the world is to look up somebody's voting record, and they didn't do that. So A, it's a question of, buying into the Trump, hysteria, and B, it's amateur hour at the White House.
Mr. Harley.
Well, let's remember a couple things. Tom Marino is a distinguished congressman. He was a district attorney in Lycoming County. He was United States attorney for nearly 8 years, so he has a distinguished record in law enforcement. I would like to hear President Obama's explanation. I would have actually liked to hear Tom Marino's explanation for, as opposed to throwing 60 Minutes out of his office. That would have been a good place to start, to hear why this bill, which passed unanimously in the House and in the Senate, and President Obama signed it, and his own DEA signed off on the bill. I'd like to hear from President Obama why he thought it was a good bill.
And Marino seems to be the fall guy in a sense because he sponsored that bill, so his name was on it.
And the fact that he was President Trump's nominee to be the drug czar.
Okay, let's turn our attention to the state now, guys. We're still sitting here without a budget agreement on the revenue plan. So, Mark, as you look at it, they're calling now for a constitutional convention. A couple of senators, Stephen Bloom, a couple of lawmakers, Stephen Bloom, one of them, asking for a constitutional convention. Now, that means that we elect delegates to go take a look at parts of our Constitution and make changes. One of the changes being, why can you pass a spending plan without the revenue plan?
That's a legitimate question, and we've made that mistake now twice, and we've seen the consequences. So it may be that there should be a constitutional change that says, look, you can't pass one or the other, you have to pass both. There might also be some other structural changes, like the size of the legislature. Maybe put some real teeth into redistricting, turn it into a real citizens commission that actually does it. So as far as I'm concerned, thinking about a constitutional convention about once every 50 years, probably a good idea.
Kevin Harley, it's something that we talk about all the time on the program. You know, how come Pennsylvania does it this way? Do you think this time around, it's been 50 years, do you think maybe people will go for it?
I think it's 50 years is a good time to take a look at things, and one of the things we could talk about is maybe having a 2-year budget. We used to have a 2-year budget prior to the last Constitutional Convention. A lot of good things came out of that convention in 1968, a unified judiciary. The Commonwealth Court came out of that. So I think it's every 50 years is a really good time to take a look, and if we got a 2-year budget, maybe reducing the size of the legislature, maybe putting some teeth and making sure that we have a balanced budget when we say we do, that the legislature really means it, and the governor can mean it as well.
I agree with him. I think that the two of us could do this constitutional convention, and let's have at it and do something good for Pennsylvania.
Mark Singler, our Democratic strategist, Kevin Harley, our Republican strategist. Kevin, I forgot my own name on occasion, so
no problem.
Forgive me. I just looked into his eyes and said, Kevin? You can hear more from our Political Insiders Sunday mornings at 8:30 on Face the State. Join us for